The Guardians did something only one other team has been able to do this year to the New York Yankees, and in the process got maybe their signature win of the year, and it's all thanks to new Locked On Guardians everydayer, Stephen Vogt.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into a winning Wednesday into Thursday edition of Locked On Guardians. Welcome into all of our everydayers, including maybe Stephen Vogt. Everybody else is listening to Locked On Guardians, so why not Cleveland manager Stephen Vogt? This is Locked On Guardians. It's our favorite half hour of the day. We hope it's yours too. We're talking about the Cleveland Guardians. We do it 5 days a week here as part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We cover your Cleveland Guardians every day. We're doing it from the majors to the minors, the draft, and everything in between. And I am, of course, Justin Lada. I have been covering the Guardians minor league system since 2007, and you can find all of my analysis on Guardians prospects over at Next Year in Cleveland on Substack, the Morning Journal, the News Herald, and here all 5 days of the week with my friend, co-host, everydayer, Jeff Ellis. You're an everydayer. We're everydayers. We're here every day.
Yeah, no, I'm here every day. I am Jeff Ellis, one of your two co-hosts here. Long time. Someone again commented about how we have we talk about ourselves. I'm going to just say this again. Network mandated. Every podcast is a chance for someone's first podcast. So I am Jeff Ellis.
Thank you.
One of the first people Locked On reached out to when they wanted to expand into baseball, because before that, I was a longtime national prospect and draft analyst at Scout and 24/7. That's why I still write about all that stuff. So we'll have more about the draft and prospects throughout. I'm going to say this again. If you want to know about the Guardians prospects, there's a lot of great sources of information, but there's no better source below the major league level from the draft and prospects than right here on this very show. I want to thank you for making today's episode your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get wherever you get comics, wherever you get podcasts. But if you get comics, hey, good
Tell
on
them to
that.
put Locked On Guardians on in their comic store.
Yeah, and thank you to all of our everydayers for joining us. It was great numbers yesterday. In spite of the loss, people liked our spirited conversation. So if you missed it, go back and check it out, because people seem to really respond to yesterday's conversation, and it felt like Stephen Vogt listened to yesterday's episode, because there was like 4 things I ranted about, and he did all of them differently.
Sure
today.
did. And they won. So what we're saying is Jeff Ellis might be a future manager, is what we're saying.
No.
We'll talk in the third segment today about the future catcher. We mentioned this yesterday. We're going to talk about Bo Naylor's performance, what's coming behind him, and what things look like for the Guardians at the future of catcher. We'll talk about whether or not this was the Guardians' signature win of the year so far. Could it be their signature series win if they finish this off on Thursday? We'll start off with Jeff's lessons learned, Stephen Vogt's lessons learned from Game 1 and what went better in Game 2. As we get into all of that, we also want to let you know that this episode of Locked On Guardians is, of course, brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, if you're a new customer, you can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Should have bet on Stephen Vogt doing all the things Jeff said yesterday. Where were we at yesterday, Jeff? What was the count we had? Having a reliever ready.
Yep. When a pitcher was already kind of high. Putting Schneemann 5th and leaving him there. That was
at second base.
Yeah, at second base. Here's the one. They saying you don't have to ride your platoon splits quite as hard, and at first it looked like they weren't going to do it. Then they did kind of do it in the 8th, but it looked like or was it the 9th where they switched it over? But it looked like but still at the same time, I mean, they let Nolan Jones hit versus a lefty and he got a single. I mean, there was a period this year where I was honestly thinking about this. I'm like, man, if I'm Aaron Boone, I'm going to sit on the sidelines, and me and my whole group of players and coaches are going to complain to the ref and act like a bunch of immature children with the constant chirping, complaining. I've never seen a group complain as well. It's the Yankees make it very easy, it's very easy to be unlikable. I'm sorry to listen. I lived in New York for 6 years. I have a lot of friends who are Yankees fans. I'm sure I'm going to be getting some texts tomorrow from my time living there, but man, they make it easy to not like that squad. But when you're sitting there watching, man, I lost my train of thought because I got just annoyed thinking about the Yankees.
I think it's one thing to say. I think I was telling this to one of our everydayers on the phone today. I think it's one thing as a manager to make sure the guys, your team knows you have their back. But it's another thing to argue every single call and chirp about everything. I mean, the umpires clearly hate him, and maybe they need maybe the umpires deserve to, because I mean maybe he deserves to hate them because the umpires have been terrible this year. I mean, this was another game where the strike zone was just not fantastic. Both teams were complaining in this one. There was complaining on Tuesday as well, and we'll go back to Tuesday. The home plate umpire, we talked about the bad calls against Bybee, and we were right. We said, you know what? I think he called a pretty good game, but those 2 calls he missed were the ones that stood out. And guess what? They were 2 of the 3 most impactful calls of the game that led to runs and running up Tanner Bybee's pitch count. And that was the calls he really missed.
I sat there because I was so tired. Like, the chirping was becoming so much in the game. I sat there and counted the misses for each side.
Mm-hmm.
And Cleveland had 4 misses, not in their. The Yankees had a +4 in terms of misses in their favor versus not in their favor. Now, in fairness, it was about 12 misses total around the zone. I count anything as a miss if it touched the zone and it wasn't called, because the umpire was so inconsistent. Sometimes he'd call it one, sometimes he wasn't. So I can understand chirping or being annoyed when it's an inconsistent strike zone. That's always going to be the number one thing. But again, it's the one side chirping who's still the team that has the advantage. So, yeah.
The question is going to be for Thursday is going to be, will Stephen Vogt have Daniel Schiemann and Nolan Jones in the lineup again against Max Fried, who's a lefty? Schiemann, what do we say? Schliemann's had reverse platoon splits this year. There might be noise, might not be.
No, it's for his career. This year he's for his career. It's that this year he doesn't have them. But last year he was
his 1 year career.
Last year. Last year his numbers were really good against lefties.
Right. So he's played like a full year.
Yeah.
He's played like a full year in the bigs between this year and last year. Yeah. So he's
had
I would a very limited.
Fried is so still. Tough. Not that Rondon isn't.
So we're gonna back to the Will Wilson conversation again.
No, here's the thing. I'll say, like, I mean, Schneeman's splits are such that he's still like. I think I'd have to check. I haven't checked recently, but last time I checked, he was still over 100 versus lefties this year. So like, Schneeman, just don't touch him. But like, I get if you're gonna do Noel and Jones. Like, I get it to a small degree. Like, if you're gonna go for one, that probably makes more sense. And the reason I say that, even though I'm like, Noel is
Martinez has to play.
Oh, Martinez definitely has to play, but Noel versus Jones is because, listen, I appreciate what Nolan Jones has had some incremental improvements, but he's still not been very good this year. Like, when you pull Schneeman, he has been good. So you're replacing good with bad. When you pull Jones for Noel, you're kind of bad for bad. So, it's not like that's the only reason I would make that statement.
Yeah, I think Schneeman's got to play again against Max Fried because
yes,
it's especially at second base too, because Gabby Arias is not giving you anything. But really encouraging to see the Guardians get those first runs of the game and get out to that early lead. Ortiz pitched well, which we'll talk more about in the second segment, of course. But yeah, so they're right. They had Tim Herron warming up right there, and Matt Festa was even warming up. He didn't come into the game. And when I was texting you, I think I was texting somebody else. I was like, he's got Festa warming up and not Cade Smith. That's very bizarre. But he left Herron in. That was good. Herron got 4 outs. Best we've seen from Herron in quite some time, truthfully. Yeah. So he got 4 outs, which was good to see. And he was ready to go as soon as Ortiz clearly was about done. And that was the right time to pull him, I think, at 92 pitches rather than keep things going. And then Gaddis was good. And, things were kind of goofy with Clase, but it was all good. But yeah, he left Schneeman in. He let Jones. And then thank God he did, because Schneeman had a great night at second base too, defensively. Even had a very close defensive play at first base that would have been a huge out, but it was just Manzardo's foot was off the bag by a couple of inches, which we can discuss that I think as well. But
yeah, he had some questionable moments. He had some good moments. We had some questionable moments.
Yeah, it was a big one. All right, we're going to talk about what the Guardians did well in this game and what reminded us of 2024. And is this the Guardians' signature win? Could it be their signature series win to date so far in 2025? That's up next on today's Locked On Guardians. Summer is heating up. The NBA playoffs, well, the finals are here. It's going to be an interesting one. We know that every night of the NBA playoffs delivers highlight-worthy performances. So does Major League Baseball, including this game against the Yankees. There are momentum shifts, can't miss moments, game-winning shots, game-altering home runs, calls by umpires. There's never been a better time to get in on the action with FanDuel. They make it so easy for you to stay in the game before tip-off, before first pitch, live during the game. There's player props, performance trends, same game parlays. You have more ways now than ever to play smart, but also win big. So I was just checking out FanDuel for the odds for the game on Thursday for the Guardians and Yankees. It's Slade Ciccone and Max Fried. We were just talking about how the lefties, it's going to be a left-handed heavy lineup, or it might not be. Fried's been tough this year. He might be the AL Cy Young winner to the state. And Slade Ciccone was not good in his last start against the Angels, this ballpark. So the Yankees are favored by 1.5, and the over-under is 8.5. If it were me, I'd be taking the over just because Slade Ciccone wasn't good his last start. But Max Fried's been pretty good too, so the Guardians may not score a lot of runs. So it's going to be a tough game. So I might take the Yankees with the runs as well. Those are all really close calls. But if you're new to FanDuel, it is the perfect time for you to sign up and head over to FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. If you win, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. It's always fun to beat the Yankees. I know, I don't want to have the inferiority complex and make it out to be the World Series every time you beat them, or give them the satisfaction of letting it define the season. But I'm sorry, it is always fun to beat the Yankees because, like you said, they make it easy to kind of dislike them because of the arguing, and there's the payroll thing, blah blah blah. Although they don't have the same cachet as the Dodgers do now, but that was a fun win. It's always good to beat them, and let's be honest, they're a good team this year. They were a good team last year.
Always good.
They might. I can't believe I'm saying this. It might be possible they are a better team this year without Juan Soto, which is just mind-boggling to say because Juan Soto is so good. Having Juan Soto and Aaron Judge back-to-back is the reason they got back to the World Series last year. But they don't have Garrett, and they don't have Garrett Cole. But Max Fried's really good. Rodon's been good. The bullpen has been good, although Luke Weaver's out, which really sucks for them. But Bellinger and Goldschmidt have been nice additions for them. Rice and Wells have played well this year for them. So there's a lot of good things they've done this year. They're a good team. They have the second best record in the American League for a reason. So beating them does mean something.
Top offense in baseball by most metric.
And I'm glad you said that because this was only the second time that they've been shut out all season. So the Guardians did something only one other team could do. And guess what? That was the Dodgers. No, it wasn't the Dodgers. It was the who did the Yankees play opening weekend? I can't remember who the Yankees played opening weekend of the season. But yeah, it was it was only the second shutout of the year for the Yankees. So the Guardians did something only one other team could do, and that's a good thing. And then it's also awesome to see it from being Luis Ortiz, because Luis Ortiz had struggled on the road this year. And coming into the start, I was like, oh, he's not pitched well on the road. He's got walk problems. This is a team that you cannot walk because they're going to hit home runs. I got to be honest, I wasn't feeling great. I mean, I love Ortiz's stuff. I think he has the tools to be a dominant starter. We've seen it, and he was. I just didn't know if I believed that his exact skill set in this game was going to work out very well, because he walks a lot of guys. This is a team that does take a lot of walks, and a team you can't afford to walk. But this was by far one of his better. I mean, he's had a lot of good starts this year, but this was by far one of the better ones.
It was the first start since April that he had a lead in. That's the offense has also just not been there for him since early April.
That he just has so many first inning problems too. He's always searching for the strike zone in the first inning.
He's also rebounded. I mean, he's got the same number of stars of the game as Tanner does so far. They are equal at 6. So he's also been really good. Is he inconsistent? Absolutely. But since April to have not had a lead, that is, I think, more the offense letting him down than him letting the team down.
Again, he doesn't have a lead because he's giving it up right away.
I mean, yeah, but he's still being effective a lot of these starts. He's been an effective starter for them. He might be giving up the lead, but they're also not giving him a lot of run support in general.
His ERA in the first inning is 4.91. His ERA in the second inning is 8.18. Third, 2.45. Fourth, 2.45. Fifth, 3.60. So he's still. But he's also not getting. Game.
He's also not getting any run support, so it doesn't.
Sure.
It's part of this, part of that. Like I said, the overall numbers are solid because it's an overall even, but he's just not getting the support. So, but it was a fantastic start. He missed. Of course, I closed my tab because I love to close tabs. But I believe he had the most whiffs, or maybe he was tied with Clark.
He had 14. He had one more. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he was freezing guys. Like that was the thing. Like some of the Aaron
Sequencing.
Judge. I mean, it was the one slider where Judge. It was a slider in the middle of the plate, and Judge didn't even swing. Bat was left out. Like there aren't. I don't know if there's another pitcher that they have who can induce that.
No, but I don't think they do. His stuff legitimately is really good. It's this again. These are the things you can see why the Guardians traded for Luis Ortiz. He's just the only thing that's stopping him from being dominant all the time like this is the command of the strike zone, and that may not be something he ever has, or it may just be fleeting with him sometimes. I think I said it was a lot like Foster Carmona sometimes, where he just had really good stuff and he could just never harness it. There was somebody else I compared him to, and I have to go back and think about that now, but it was somebody else. But the stuff was legitimately good in this one. I don't know, Jeff. Do you believe in signature wins, signature series? Because I feel like shutting out this Yankees team for the only other team to do it this year besides one other team, the way they did it. I mean, on the road at Yankee Stadium with Luis Ortiz on the mound and going to the bullpen. I don't know. I just feel like that and getting that first inning lead the way they did, it feels like a really important win for them. I'm not saying like, oh, this is going to change the trajectory of their season. This is where things all turn around. But we have seen better signs from the rotation lately. Tanner was really good on Tuesday night, minus one pitch to Volpe. And this was, another dominant start by Luis Ortiz. And it's the first time he's pitched really well on the road this year, truthfully.
Well, I'm me. So, of course, I don't believe in signature wins because that's just, it's a win is a win. And they're professionals and they believe that they're going to win every game. They're going out there with that. And unless you're in a really bad funk, the mindset isn't supposed to change.
But is it one of their best wins of the year?
It is, yes. I believe it's one of their best wins. I don't believe I do believe in momentum, but I don't know if a single win is momentum. So I guess that's where I am with it. But yes, I thought this was one of their better wins. Even though there was a lot of
shows you what they're capable of
as well. There was some defensive miscues. Gabby Arias looked like he was trying to beat John Kensey Noel at the plate. And, there's a lot of ups and downs, but on the whole, it was a very solid win. A lot of guys stepped up. For every good play, for every bad play, there was 2 to 3 good plays. That's what you want to see. And it's a tough team. And Clark Schmidt is he's not their best starter, but he's started in the postseason for them. He is.
He's a guy they've also hit before.
Yeah, they have had some success there, and they jumped on him early, which made everyone's life easier. But it's tough. You're facing New York, and the umpires have so far had a slight advantage to the Yankees, which makes it a little bit tougher. And they took this one, and this is just a tough schedule. It's been kind of a murderer's row for a few weeks now with.
Dodgers, Tigers.
People want to discount
Astros,
discount the Angels, but it's going into that series, people were talking about, oh, the Angels are an emerging wild card team. There was some talk that team had picked it up and had a few good games. Bob Nightingale, senior writer for USA Today, had just written a piece. He's got one of the most prestigious writing jobs in baseball.
Which is why the Angels season is now over after he wrote that. Yeah. I think he ended the Brewers winning streak because the Brewers were on an 8-game winning streak, and he said something about it. And the next day, the Brewers lost. So that
seems about right.
Being bobbed. That's being bobbed. Yeah, all the time. No, but I agree. There's no such thing as really momentum except for your next day's starting pitcher. But I don't know. I feel it's a win. I feel really good about. I think it shows you what this team can be capable of, and you can't. We always say no two games in baseball are the same. No 2 years are the same. We figured that out. I think everybody knows that at this point. But that felt a lot like 2024, right? Early lead. You had a good performance from Ortiz in that one as far as the starting pitcher goes. They didn't really have a guy like that last year except for Tanner. Ben Lively was never even that dominant a year ago. And then the bullpen was great. Tim Herron, again, we talked about how the bullpen's been kind of shaky, and at least he's been shaky this year. Yeah, he looked like the Tim Herron of old. Gaddis came in, was good. And then, there was a couple that ground ball double by Bellinger, it fell in. It is what it is. But he struck out the side. He got Aaron Judge out, which was huge. It felt like a very 2024 win. You had an early lead. You got over the bullpen. They shut things down. It was a good win. Yeah. I'll tell you what, if they can beat Max Fried today, I think this could be a signature series win because if you win on Thursday, You take the season series from the Yankees, 4-2, and you also beat the guy who, or at least you win with the guy in the mound who might be the early favorite for the Cy Young in the AL. I mean, him and Hunter Brown, right?
Yeah.
If you win that game, it could be a signature series. It's easier said than done because we know the Guardians, success against lefties this year isn't as good as it was a year ago because Noel isn't as good. They don't have Lane Thomas. David Fry just came back. So they're not hitting as well against lefties this year. But they do have Jose, who's good against lefties. Angel Martinez is good against lefties. And by the way, I don't know if I say this tomorrow. I got one more stat I want to bring up that I think is interesting about the offense. And then we're going to talk about catching in the next segment. We're going to talk about the future catcher for the Guardians, Bo Naylor's future, who could be coming behind him, how long they can stick with that offense behind the plate. That's coming up on the rest of today's Locked On Guardians. Hey, you. Thanks for being you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts. We would really appreciate it if you hit the bell on YouTube, or if you're not subscribed yet, if you do. We are about, 600 away, Jeff, from 5,000. Would love to get to that 5,000 number sometime around the draft, maybe a little bit after. That'd be a lot of fun. We'd love to get there. So tell a friend about Locked On Guardians. Tell them that, we're talking about the Cleveland Guardians 5 days a week. Nobody else is doing that. And nobody else is going deep on the Guardians from the majors to the minors to the draft like we are. And if you like that, auto download on all your audio platforms because we're everywhere. That would help us out a ton. We'd love to have you every day. If you want to shout out if you're every day or we haven't shouted you out, make sure you let us know that. And make sure you want to be an insider. We text our insiders during games, when news happens, mailbags. We're going to do another virtual meetup here in the month of June. I know one of our everydayers, Matt, reminded me that the last time we did one of those, the Guardians were 3-6. So it's been a while since we've done a insider virtual call. So we're going to do that here soon. If you want to be a part of that, become an insider at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnGuardians. How much longer, Jeff, is Bo Naylor going to have the inside track as the Guardians starting catcher? I know you did some deep diving on catcher stats that were not great. I'll say this. Here's a funny thing that ties in today. Jeff, would you be surprised to know that was the 8th shutout of the year for the Guardians? They have 8 shutouts this year.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise. I won't lie. That is.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. It's their most they've had through 60 games since 2013, where they also had 8 at that point. So I did not imagine this team having 8 shutouts at this point in the season, because we thought the rotation wouldn't have been good enough, but they have. And the bullpen's also had its leaky moments too. But Bo Naylor, Jeff, has been behind the plate for 7 of them. I think we have to dispel the notion. I don't know. Does anybody believe in catcher ERA anymore? I feel like that's something people have finally realized is a joke, right? Like catcher ERA is not a good stat.
Yeah, it's always been bad. People like use it for straw man arguments.
Yeah, it's bad. So catcher ERA is bad. But Bo Naylor has been the catcher for 7 or 8 of their 8 shutouts this year. But offensively, we just haven't seen. He had a hit in this one, so maybe he's going to have the day off on Thursday. But for Austin Hedges, but offensively, it just hasn't been there. Like he had that little week and a half stretch where things looked a little bit better. But
that's how he operates.
He just has not come around.
He just does that. Yeah. He has a week and a half here, a week and a half there, and then he's actually performing
2 or 3 weeks after that.
He's performing better this year than last year. Has a higher OPS and a higher runs created plus. I know people won't believe that, but I was just kind of puttering around how bad is the catcher position, and even if you drop down to just 150 plate appearances, there is only 12 catchers in all of baseball who have a league average, WRC plus. I think one of the most interesting to me is Detroit's Dylan Dingler, who has the 3rd highest WRC plus, has the best blocking rate in baseball and the 2nd best framing rate. That was one of those players. Dylan Dingler was one of the players who probably got most hosed by the 2020 draft being so cut short, because he's getting a chance. His numbers were fantastic, but Ohio State is definitely a non-traditional program, and it took him a little while after that. And listen, his BABIP is still unsustainably high, but he's fun, and there's a few other guys, but it's a pretty dead position across baseball.
Cal Raleigh might be the MVP if it's not.
Yeah, he might, but it's you look at 14th best Joey Bart, who it's funny that Joey Bart is with Pittsburgh because, Pittsburgh also drafted Henry Davis high and had, who's the catcher / outfielder they had? I'm blanking on his name.
Andy Rodriguez.
Yes. Everyone thought would be their catcher. And then, I remember Dan O'Dowd saying Joey Bart should go first overall in his draft class. And, he's been cut since then. And Aldi Rushman is 15th best WRC plus amongst catchers. And just one spot behind him at 16th is Bo Naylor.
Yeah, Adley Rutschman's second half last year was abysmal, and he has not recovered since offensively.
No, I mean, behind Bo Naylor, Yainer Diaz, who people always scream about, is significantly behind Bo Naylor and runs Creative Plus. JT Realmuto, Salvador Perez, Patrick Bailey, who people talked about as an all-star last year. All these guys below. Jonah Heim, who's a guy that I've definitely stumped for at various times in the past wanting to acquire. All behind Bo Naylor. Like, Bo Naylor is weirdly mid for offensive production as a catcher.
Yeah, it's a position for sure that has, especially for Cleveland, has really turned to more defense. Like, if you have the Salvador Perez's and you have the Cal Raleighs and those guys, like Sean Murphy. Where's Sean Murphy at this year?
He hasn't had enough plate appearances because of his injury, but he's hitting well. He's over 100. It's kind of like in football when you have like the elite of the elite at tight end, and you can just kind of do things that the rest of the league can't do. When you have that, Pete Kelsey or Gronkowski type of deal. That's what it's like when you have a Raleigh or a Will Smith, like those guys you can count on day in and day out to be an elite performer. Now, the other downside is you look at the Mowers, you look at the Posies, you look at most of those guys, it does mean it is a shorter career. Like, there's no way around it. It typically ends careers faster, but so few teams can get production back there that when you can get production, it's something special. And speaking of production, I think Cooper Ingle had an okay game on today's Wednesday, on Tuesday. Just okay.
4 for 4 with a double and a homer. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people screaming for him about Cooper Ingle. I also saw a post today about, should Cody Huff be up? Cody Huff's not going to give you anything that Bo Naylor and Austin just don't already give you. So Cody Huff's not the answer, as much as you and I think he's an interesting prospect.
I think he'll make the big leagues. I think he will.
I think he's a future Austin Hedges. He's a coach's son or a scout's son and all that kind of stuff.
Strong
but
defender.
Cooper Ingle, I think, by the end of this year, maybe even by the end of the summer, like maybe July or August, could be in Columbus. He's hitting very well. He had an abysmal April, and all of a sudden he has got over a 900 OPS in Akron. Also hits well in Canal Park, which is generally a pitcher's park. But so did Bo Naylor. Bo Naylor had a bad first year in Akron in 2021. And that's why you and I both agreed that he got a mulligan. At least I know I did. And he came back in 2022 and he was fantastic in Akron, got to AAA, and then Cleveland promoted him, right, for the playoffs. And then he came up in 2023 after they cut bait with Mike Zunino, and he became had a bad first month, and then after that he took off. And then offensively, he just hasn't been the same ever since. But the defense has grown for sure with Bo Naylor. Like, I remember how many times was it 2023 or 2024? You and I were talking about the defense just isn't good for Bo Naylor, and
like balls getting away. He's still not great at balls. That's still
his blocks aren't great. His throwing is good. His throwing has been much better this year. The framing has been elite. And I'll say this too. I mean, I think he has some ways to go in terms of game calling and sequencing. Much better in this one for sure. But he's gotten better, and he's a glove over hit catcher, which is amazing to me because when he was in the draft, we all thought this is a guy who probably won't stick at catcher. They'll have to move him to third base or something because the bat's going to come too quickly for the glove, and that hasn't been the case. The glove has outpaced the bat. So all that to say is that I think Bo Naylor goes into 2026 as the starting catcher. The problem with Cooper Ingle is he also is a strong side platoon hitter. He's not an everyday catcher. He doesn't have the arm Bo Naylor has. That's going to be one of the drawbacks for Cooper Ingle. The arm isn't good, but he's also has a strong defensive presence behind the plate. The framing is good. I think the blocking is good. He's a good prospect. I think he's legitimately a good prospect, and he's done some really fun things this year. Like, he's hitting the ball in the air more. He's pulling it more. But I will say this, when it comes to Bo Naylor, the things you lose from him if he's no longer your starting catcher, I don't think Cooper Ingle's bilingual. I think that really matters. Bo Naylor's got a little more experience. You can't have Bo Naylor and Cooper Ingle on the same roster. You just can't. It's not going to work. because they're both strong side platoon guys. And
I mean, I think it doesn't matter. Like, to me, because it's such a small percentage, and like it's not like Austin Hedges hits at all anyways. So they clearly don't care.
If you have David Fry and Bo Naylor and Cooper Ingle, I guess that works.
I mean, Austin Hedges can't hit his way out of a brown paper bag, and he's the platoon partner for Naylor, so they clearly don't care.
I wouldn't even call him a platoon guy. I think he's just there as a defensive leadership backup. I wouldn't even say
he's in the platoon with him right now. Like, if they're willing to run those two out there, they're willing to run anyone out there.
Well, Bo Naylor started Tuesday against Rodon.
I know. I'm saying, like, they so you could do Naylor as the platoon partner with him.
I guess, yeah. One of them's got to be the backup. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe having David Fry back to catching next year could also alleviate some of that. We'll see how that plays out. But I don't know. Cooper Ingle, definitely a good prospect. I don't know how it all fits for them. But the time isn't this year. And there are things I know that, like you said, when you have Cal Raleighs and you have Will Smiths, you can do different things. Will Smith's a very versatile actor. Oh, I'm talking about the catcher. Sorry, I meant versatile actor. You don't have that in Bo Naylor, unfortunately. We were hoping we were going to have that. We thought we were going to have that. We haven't had that, but he's still a good defender. He's still, got the leadership, the bilingual thing that I think is important. That shows you a lot of him too. So there are ups and downs. I still expect him to be the starting catcher next year, but I do think Cooper Ingle is a legitimate prospect. I want to see him in AAA. I want to see him face AAA pitching, because there's really AA is not the test it used to be. It's still a tough level, but it isn't the test AAA is, and AAA is not the test it used to be, because major league, the pitching gap between the majors and AAA is so big. So numbers at the minor leagues are hard to take too seriously anymore.
I think he replaces Naylor by midseason next year. I think if Naylor keeps doing what he is doing, it is good, but not good enough. I think
on the record.
If he keeps hitting like this and Bo keeps struggling to hit his body weight, and he's a skinny guy, I think at some point it's something you consider. I mean, I know they ran with Hedges for a while, but they're always considering the younger guys as well to replace him. Just no one.
But they care about defense first. To a degree. We care about you coming back tomorrow to see if the Guardians can beat Max Fried and win this series. Let us know if you think this is a signature win, or it could be a signature series win if they beat Max Fried and the Yankees. We'll also take a look ahead to the Houston Astros series as they come to Cleveland for the only and first time in 2025. That's tomorrow's Locked On Guardians.
Who's your favorite Smith? Let us know below. Catcher.
Big Willie.
Who's your favorite? Let me know. Thank you all for
Willie style.
Remember to rate and review. Download, it helps. And go Guardians, go.